Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Rother. I'm the channel for the group here at Espavo.org. I'd like to welcome you to BackStory Podcast. This is the podcast where I tell you a little bit of the most important things the group has been talking about lately or explaining to me and kind of giving you the story behind the story a lot of times of things that is going on the planet. This is number 13, our lucky 13th episode, so welcome today. What I'd like to really talk about today is I want to repeat something the group has mentioned. Now, they actually originally talked about this in the Beacons of Light, probably about 3, maybe 4 months ago. And then most recently, they repeated it in a very recent Lightmaster group. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about what this is and share it with you. They're talking about the Earth. They're talking about planet Earth. Obviously, I live in Las Vegas. We had 120 degrees here at my house. Now, we spent most of the day either in the air conditioning or in the pool, one of the two. But we've had some extreme weather here. Now, we set records here for the hottest day at a certain date and so forth. And I think we even set a new record for the hottest place on Earth, not necessarily here in Vegas, but there was a new record for the hottest degrees. I think it was 134 before, and I think we beat that. But nonetheless, the important thing is it's getting warmer all the time. Now, I can tell you that we've seen a lot of degradation of the planet itself. We're seeing these superstorms come in. We're seeing all this incredible energy taking place. And it was not that long ago, the group basically said the Earth is dying. Well, we've got other options, and so does the Earth. And this is new. So let me take you back a little bit to some of the things the group says so I can kind of put this in order for you and share with you the perspective that I have with it. It was, again, probably 5 or 6 months ago, maybe even longer than that the group talked about a timeline cross we were having. And that is where you've got a timeline. You know, we think of time as linear. It's not, but we perceive it that way. The group says, you know, you think of past, present, and future, but only one of those is real, and that's the now moment. The future is a possibility, and the past is only a memory. And we change the past all the time. So there's no snapshot in time that is a shared truth anywhere. So with that, we've got this linear time frame. So does other dimensions. And the group's talked many times about multidimensionality. We had a timeline cross where one of those linear times crossed another. Now, usually a timeline cross looks like this. Here, I'll give you a little contrast on it if you're watching the video. A timeline cross is very straight like an X. And the place where they actually cross is very small, very fast. Usually it makes an imprint that is only a matter of maybe hours or a day. And sometimes the group says we have imprints that cross and leave indelible imprints that never go away. The group actually said the times of Christ were one of those. They also said Atlantis, Lemuria, were times of this nature where we crossed another timeline and inexorably affected each other. Well, if you're watching the video, instead of this, it's more like this. And they really imprinted each other by being a very lazy X, if you will. So with that, we had this timeline cross a while back. It was a timeline cross with a planet they called Aries. And Aries itself had opposite deals with the Earth. There were two things that they said we were going to benefit from. Number one, they were dominated by the feminine energy instead of the masculine energy, like we are. And they said it's going to have a profound effect on you. Well, guess what just happened? Whether it happens or not, we have the first possibility of having a female president. So it's moving in that direction. We've seen the feminine rising. The group's talked about this. Many other teachers have talked about that as well, but that's only part of the aspect. The other thing that happened was they said that Aries was in trouble because their planet was having difficulties surviving. There was a different reason. It wasn't pollution or things of that nature. And ours isn't entirely pollution, although much of what we have created is man-made, according to the group. They basically said it was in trouble. And that by crossing this timeline, we had the opportunity of helping the Earth, not only helping the Earth, but helping Aries. And the same was true with the rise of the feminine. They said, over there, they're talking about the rise of the masculine. So they're different energies that we've imprinted each other with. And the idea is not to lean too heavily one side or the other. It's to find a balancing point somewhere in the middle. That's the most important aspect of this whole process. So with that, we had the channels. We talked about it in class. We talked about it, and then kind of faded away. Didn't think much of it. Then, not too long ago, again, about 3 months ago, 2 months ago, they talked about these Stargates opening, and that there were 4 new Stargates on planet Earth that were being intentionally opened. Now, what is a Stargate? Well, it's like a wormhole. You can move through dimensional time very quickly through a wormhole. All of this is theoretical. There's no physical proof in any scientific realm of this yet. But the way they described it, let me grab a piece of paper here. The way they described it is you can go from one corner of the paper to the other corner of the paper, and you can measure that. In this case, that's going to be so many thousands of light years. Or you can bend the paper over and almost touch the corners and be very short distance to be able to travel through a wormhole. This is what also they call a Stargate. They talked about 4 Stargates opening. They were on planet Earth, and beings, were coming through the Stargate, and they were here. Now we've had space beings on this planet for a long time, so I'm not going to tell you to go look for extraterrestrials. We know that we have origins in this. We've talked a lot about that as well, and some of the origins of the human race. Nonetheless, we have new 4 Stargates. Why would the group talk about that? Well, there's Stargates that have been here a long time. I watch television sometimes, and I've watched a special called The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, which is all about a place where there's incredible UFO activity, and they actually believe that those are wormholes that are coming through from other dimensions of time and space. So, with all that, we've got a base of understanding of that. And this isn't just people that are trying to make money. I'm sure they're making money at it. Don't kid yourself. But at the same time, they're astrophysicists, and they're people with a lot of expertise in this area, and the technologies that they use are absolutely incredible. So that's the part that I really enjoy about it. But it's also really introduced the idea of wormholes and the fact that we're not alone, that we have other beings that are very, very conscious, very much aware of what's going on. Now, that can also bring up a lot of fear. We can say, we got to protect ourselves from these space beings. Come in and take over planet Earth. Well, they've been around for a long time. And if they have the technology to do what we think they're doing, then they certainly have the technology to take us over if they wanted to. That is not their intent. And that's an important aspect of this. So why are they here? Why did 4 new Stargates open? Because when the group talked about 4 Stargates opening, they didn't talk about why or what was happening. Well, they did. They said one thing. They said the beings that are coming through here, through these new 4 Stargates, and we'll be able to eventually use them the other way, but right now they're coming here to planet Earth. And they're coming here not to work with humans. They're coming here to work with the planet and to change and shift the planet, because she's on a death spiral. That's the reality of it. We could be very easily living in the end times, so to speak. The reality of it is everything in these timelines, everything on this side of the veil has a beginning and an end. We're all finite, including the Earth. And they pointed to Mars. They said, Planet Earth could end up looking like Mars, and there would be no conscious life in the way that we currently know it on planet Earth if this continues. So what can we do? Well, we can become conscious. Now, they also said that with this new help coming in, that they were really working with things. And then a few weeks later in the Lightmaster groups, once again, they talked about they've been successful. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean the Earth's going to start getting cooler again? Is it going to do that? Well, the biggest challenge is not necessarily that it's going to stop getting warm. The challenge is that it's going to heat up, and fall into a mini ice age very quickly. That is the danger sign. And that's probably the 6th extinction event that we would see on this planet. And it would include human life. We would not be here during that time. So with all this going on, we will tell you that the beings coming through these stargates were not really that interested in humanity. They were interested in the Earth, because the Earth affects them as well. Everything is tied together. We're all part of each other, including us humans. And yet they wanted to work with the planet. Well, they've been successful. And what they said was this. They said this year, 2024, will probably continue for a while to heat up. You're going to see the superstorms. You're going to see the hurricanes. You're going to see the new records being set. You're going to see life on planet Earth starting to change because of the extreme warming of the planet. Well, this year we've already set a record for the globe as a whole being the hottest it's ever been, ever. Not just recorded history, but they do believe that that is the hottest it's ever been. Okay, well, maybe in the beginning it started as a hot rock. That's what the group said. So they're correcting me. It may not have been ever. But nonetheless, as far as we've been here on planet Earth, it's the hottest it's ever been. So is it going to continue? Are we going to end up wiping out the planet? No, they said now there's been some adjustments made. With the help of these beings that have been here, and they didn't actually get into who they were. They did say that originally we had the Anunnaki, we had all these other beings that helped planet Earth get starting. We had 6 parental races that started planet Earth, and these were some of the 6 parental. They actually said there's only 4 of them left. The others also have a beginning and an end. 2 of them are completely gone. Where are they from? None of that mattered to the group. They're not going to get into all that stuff because that's a story around the meaning. They want to talk about the purpose and the meaning of this whole thing. So as they talked about this, they gave us a very important question, a very important instruction. And I really want to repeat it here. They said, you have a potential of turning this around. Now, you don't have a chance of turning it around this year. The Earth is like a massive freight train. You put on the brakes right now, it's going to take you a long time to stop, a long time to make a turn. So with that, what they suggested was, they said, actually, next year, toward the middle and the end of 2025, you have the potential of starting to calm down the heating. It's growing. It's starting to expand further and further every year. Now, if we have the opportunity of changing it, how do we do that? What is our part in that? Well, they said our part is really simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Do whatever you can to help the planet. And they said, now that these adjustments have been made, anything you can do to help the planet is going to actually be amplified 7 times. Times 7. Well, I put out the message. We're always trying to be conscious. I have a girlfriend in Belgium, and of course in Belgium and Holland and many of the areas of Europe, they're much more conscious than we are in the United States of these things. So I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to do my part here. Of course, I live in the desert, and water is a huge piece here. So we've learned to conserve water quite a bit here. I'm still working on it, but we're really learning how to change a lot of these aspects having to do with working with the Earth. and what that means. Now, everything is times 7. And it works in both directions. If we harm the earth, it will have 7 times the effect. If we help the earth, it will be 7 times the help. Recently, I was reminded of this. I found myself, my fiance and I like to go out in the woods and take these long walks. And in Belgium, they have these beautiful trails that are all well kept and everything. So we're out exploring all these different trails. And although I didn't see it a lot in this particular trail, I kept seeing little pieces of trash. And I really wanted to pick it up, but I didn't have a bag. I didn't have anything else. So finally, I just said, okay, well, I'm just going to put it in my pocket. You know, this is ridiculous. So I picked one up, put it in my pocket. And the group chimed in, said times 7. And I got the message. Well, we not only picked up trash for the rest of the time, but we also agreed that every time we go out in the woods, we're going to take a trash bag with us. Real simple. That's simple stuff. Now, is that going to make a huge difference? Times 7, it can. Is it going to be, am I going to be making that difference on the planet? No, but if we all do it, it can make a huge difference. Now, there's so many ways that we can do this. There's everything from driving less, from washing. You know, when I grew up, we used to, it's a long time ago, I know, but we used to take a bath once a week. Us kids used to take a bath once a week. Well, I'm kind of returning to some of that. Now I do go to the gym and I do have my pool and a sauna, and I can do that there. But the reality is I'm trying to use less water and conserve a lot of things and learn new habits to do that. Learning to shut off the water while I'm brushing my teeth. Doing simple things like this can start to make a huge difference now that these adjustments have been made inside the planet with our dear friends who are here working with us. There's other things that are taking place. It's not all of it, but the group actually says some of this is a natural evolution that's taking place, but a lot of it is being greatly sped up by the Industrial Revolution. That's what started it all. We've all been gradually increasing the temperature of the planet. The Industrial Revolution came along and boom, we're off the charts. And today we finally notice it. We didn't notice it for a long time. Now we're seeing it. And I know there's people that still deny that the weather is changing or that the global warming is even happening. There's very few scientists that will actually say that. Very few, if any. And certainly anyone who works with the weather will not say that. Most of the people that work with these places are talking about extinction events that are directly ahead as a result of it. We're the ones that are going to be extinct, not the planet. The planet will be here just like Mars is there. She doesn't have an ionosphere anymore. She doesn't have a magnetosphere anymore because all of that went away during several millions of years. They just recently, by the way, found water below the surface on Mars. So there's some discoveries being made and things the group's talked about Mars. I don't want to get too much into that right now. But I do want to talk about this times 7 thing because it is a big part of what the group has been talking about and a lot of what has been working with in different ways. So with that, I've made a commitment, do the best I can. I'm trying to learn. A lot of this comes from America. Like I said, most of the rest of the world, well, parts of the world anyway, seem to be way ahead of us on being able to conserve and being able to treat the earth well. There's other areas that aren't. India is probably behind the United States. China is coming along, although they've just built thousands of coal fire plants to generate electricity. So we're all starting to work with this and work together. But it's not so much about what everybody else is doing, it's what each one of us can do. And I wanted to share that with you because everything now is times 7, including if we harm the planet. It will happen very quick. What did the group say about this? They said exactly that. They said, back a long time ago. I think it was in the 20s. I looked it up after the group mentioned it. But they said in Europe, Northern Europe, we had a mini ice age. What is a mini ice age? Well, it's a really cold winter is what it is. And it didn't go away for a while. It stayed for years. And it was really difficult. We lost a lot of people in that mini ice age. The group said it was going to be very similar to that, but worse. Not a full ice age, but the reality is we have the potentials of swinging the other direction very fast and almost overnight moving into an ice age. Instead, we can peak this out. We can learn to live with what we've got and gradually bring it down. That is their greatest hope for us, that we can do exactly that. Because if we don't, we are liable to swing this very, very drastically. The planet does do that. We've seen that happen. If you look at the really large picture, we're actually coming out of an ice age. That's what's happening. It's being, like I said, exacerbated by the fact that we have all this pollution going on. So it's a really big deal for us to be able to do that. But I wanted to bring that up because it is something we can all work with. I'm working with it personally. I know that many people are very concerned about what we're doing, where we're going. Of course, if we go to war, if we have a global war, I don't think we're headed in that direction. But we've been very close, and we're still very close. So we'll see where this all goes. But if we have a global war, we're liable to make that harmful effects times 7. And that would be really difficult for planet Earth and all the beings that live on this beautiful third rock from the sun. So with that, I'll leave you be for the time being. I've got some more I'd like to share with you about in this podcast. But I'll take a quick break here and be right back with the next segment. But I wanted to tell you about the times 7, because we have a chance of turning this around with the help of those 4 Stargates that have opened, with the help of our timeline cross with Aries, the things that have been happening in the last year and a half, as far as what the group's been sharing with us. So that's kind of what these podcasts are, is a little bit of behind the scenes. This is Steve's view of the things the group has been telling us. Okay? Enjoy. I'll be right back. Espavo. Welcome back. Okay. Well, the other piece that I'd like to add to today's podcast is very simply, we'd like to talk about healing. You know, and at espavo.org, we just finished a seminar called 2 Days of Healing. And the group, I knew where we were going with it. I knew what the group wanted to do. They did exactly what they were asking about. We're also doing some work with the Project Park Bench, if you haven't discovered it. It's a wonderful opportunity to kind of play along and to experience a higher vibration. When you're imprinted with these things, you bring them back. You know, it was probably about 20 years ago that we discovered some very important parts of the brain and things about the brain. One of them was neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is simply the fact that the brain changes and forms new synaptic pathways when new thoughts are brought into it. So that's really proof from Dr. Norman Vincent Peale's book, The Power of Positive Thinking. That's exactly what this is. If you think that way, because we're creator beings, if we think that way, we change ourselves and we change the world around us. Huge, absolutely huge. It's more than just positive thinking, because it's actually the art of manifestation. But what about healing? What about that in general? Well, again, the group's talked quite a bit about the fact that many things that we try to heal are actually because we hold stress in our body, or because we don't know how to ground that stress. We hold it in our body. It builds up in the vagus nerve, which is how we intercede into the world. But on top of that, if we can change our thinking, many times we can reset the body to heal itself. And we did a whole event about signature vibration. I'm not going to get into signature vibration. Take the course if you're interested in that. It's 2 days and it was very inexpensive. We did that intentionally. But the reality is we have possibilities of changing everything if we can develop new ways of thinking. And some of this is what the group calls healing. Sometimes we're just healing our thoughts. Now, they had some interesting things to say about it, and it was fascinating. I discovered some things about myself. I always thought my favorite color was this, and they said, no, vibrationally, your favorite color is that. And I said, that's really interesting because when I wear that color, everybody comments on it, so maybe it is. So it went back to, where did I get that idea that this other color was my favorite color? Well, it was a belief system I picked up as a kid. I heard somebody talking about green, which, as I always said, was my favorite color. Green doesn't really look good on me. That's the funny part. I'm wearing maroon today, but blue is the color that seems to resonate with me the best. And I got the green from, I remember going to a car dealership. My father was ordering a brand new car. First time he'd ever ordered a brand new car. And we're sitting in the salesman's office, and he's trying to decide the color, and he's looking at all these colors. Why he wasn't asking my mother, I don't know, but she was not there. And it was just me and him. And I remember the salesman saying, you know, green's always easy on the eye. It's a great color. It's really easy on the eye. And we ended up with a green car. And I ended up thinking for the rest of my life up to this point that green was my favorite color. Well, green happens to be my girlfriend's favorite color, so in a way, it's still my favorite color. But nonetheless, I seem to resonate with this navy blue, this dark blue. It's a vibration that they talked about, and they even showed us how to measure some of the vibrational aspects of that and find the harmonics of it. So with that, and with neuroplasticity, we did this healing seminar. The healing seminar was interesting because they showed me so many ways. Now, I only had 2 days and 2 1-hour seminars, hour and 15 minutes. So I didn't really get into a lot of what they showed me. But there is so much that we can do by changing our thought patterns. Not only to heal ourselves, but many of you that are watching these things are healers yourself. Many of you are teachers and healers in your own right. Many of you have written books. Some of you have practices that you're working with and people that you're working with. That seems to be kind of what the group works with. They tend to attract that. So we've decided to try and do something, and we're having a board meeting to talk about it. But it's my intent to have some healing seminars, and maybe I won't even teach them all. Maybe I'll bring in some other people to be able to kind of add to this and work with this. Because if we get one vision, that's fine, but not everybody's going to resonate with me or the group or anything else. So if we bring in a bunch of different aspects of this, and maybe once a month have a different speaker, a different person to come in and kind of add a little bit to it, maybe we can all start changing our brainwave patterns, form some new synaptic pathways that'll not only help us heal ourselves, but heal others. And maybe even heal the earth. It's a great possibility. It's good potentials. Stay tuned. We'll tell you more about it. Watch the website, espavo.org. It'll tell you what the new things we're going to be doing and when and if that's going to start. It's not a definite thing yet. We're a nonprofit organization. I have to go everything through the board of directors to approve it, and I haven't done that yet. But I thought I'd spill the beans because I'm pretty confident we're going to be doing this and working with it. And it really enforces a few things, especially to me. I read several books when I was a teenager. One of them was, like I said, Norman Vincent Peale, The Magic of, or not the magic, actually David Schwartz wrote one called The Magic of Thinking Big. Wonderful. Norman Vincent Peale wrote The Power of Positive Thinking. And these are long time ones, and then we had 3 Magic Words, which was absolutely outstanding. So these things absolutely influenced me, And I have no doubt that the group is being able to come through me because of the neuroplasticity that I planted a long time ago. Some of the things that I planted in my own brain that I truly believed. And even if I went to somebody who said, no, that's not true, don't worry about that, that's, here's the way to do this. I had this deep within me, and I knew this to be a truth. And today, the group, they're laughing at me right now. Actually, it's kind of funny because they're basically saying, we were there when you were a child, dummy, so I guess maybe that's why I picked up those books. So anyway, there was a publisher back then who published small paperback books. It was called I'll think of it in a minute, the Wilshire Library. And the Wilshire Library had all these books in it, and I read almost every one of them. I was just addicted to this stuff. It was incredible. Now that they're telling me they were responsible for finding me in that direction, or aiming me in that direction, that's perfect. But the way we think, and especially our belief systems, which the group calls BS, is basically determines our reality and determines what we are in the world. We think that there's things that are real that we can never change. But we can. If we change the way we perceive it, and we change the way that we process it. Now, the interesting part about this is that we think there's good and bad. And the group says, no, you need to lose that stuff. You need to get away from that stuff. The reality is, the moment you call anything bad, you have attached a string to it, and it will follow you through life, and it will affect your path. So choose carefully what you call good or bad. And maybe pull back a little further and see yourself as a spirit pretending to be human instead of a human trying to find your spirit. That's huge. That's what the group's been talking about since I've started channeling them back in 1996. And with that, I'll leave it for today. I've enjoyed this tremendously. This is the latest things and kind of behind the scenes. And again, this is not a live channel, although the group's always with me. The reality is, this is Steve telling you things the group is talking about and things that are important, and hopefully things that can help you a little bit. By the way, if you're not aware of it, get on the mailing list because we send out a thought of the week every week, recorded video. You can also just listen to it in audio if you'd like, the same as these podcasts. These podcasts, by the way, if you're listening to them in audio, are available in video as well. You can actually watch me. Not that pretty, but you can if you want to. They're available on YouTube and Spotify and probably some other places that I don't know. We distribute this in many places. We have been locked out of TikTok. We're not quite sure why. They said we violated a rule somewhere, so they're completely closed down our account at TikTok. It's okay. There's other places where we can reach you. So anyway, look for it. It is the BackStory by Espavo TV, and we really enjoy being with you. Espavo is a word the group talked about that's from ancient Lemuria, and it simply means thank you for taking your power. Espavo, everybody.